las escenas normales, vienen en los barcos, traen la comida o los insumos, lo que sale, lo que entra, ahí está un castillo, el puerto, su negocio es mundial.
Alors aujourd'hui, nous sommes à Pompeii, c'est l'an 79. Les habitants ne savent pas que le plus grand cataclysme de leur vie va se produire dans quelques heures. Okay, so here we have a street crossing. So essentially the streets back in the day in 79 AD when Vesuvius erupted, the streets would have been kind of gross. And so the wheels of the carts would go in between those stones, and then in order to cross the street without getting your shoes full of shit, you would walk across like the Beatles on Abbey Road. I'm guessing this is the Forum. Oh god. Hell yeah. There he goes. Oh my god. He's doing it. Okay, so we are in front of a wall, but what I want to show you are the stones. So first of all, the irony of this is that the entire town is basically built out of volcanic rock before then getting blown up by a volcano. So that's factoid number one. And also you'll see that these stones are sort of set in this diagonal diamond shape pattern. That's actually called Opus Reticulatum, and it was basically just a technique that they used to build large, safe, structured walls that were super solid, which is why they're still here. Because when they're sort of set like that, they hold for way, way longer than if they'd be just flat out. Nice Corinthian columns. So another fun fact, hi, this is my friend. There were, throughout Roman history, there were 4 styles of mural painting or frescoes. This particular one, which consists of painting sort of building or structural stuff onto the walls to make it look like your house is bigger, that's the second style. And Pompeii is generally a second style city in terms of the wall paintings or frescoes that you will find. Fresco literally just means that you are painting freshly directly on a wall. So you'll have a layer of stucco, you'll paint over it, and so fresco means you're painting into a wet layer of stucco, which means that the pigment, instead of just being on the wall, actually seeps into the wall, which is why it lasts so long. Whereas fresco a secco means fresco, or like dry fresco, and that means that you're painting directly on dry stucco, and that doesn't last as long because obviously the pigments they haven't seeped into the wall itself, and so it's easier to be damaged by the elements or whatever. So now we're walking down sort of a market street. Each of these little buildings, you would have had a store front here, and then there would have been, these would have basically been like houses or apartment houses, and so you'd have a second floor, maybe even a third floor, depending. So you would have your workspace downstairs, and then you would live upstairs. So there would be restaurants, sort of bars essentially, little shops, anything really. One thing that I'd like to address before we keep going, because it is quite important to me, is the question of respect and responsibility when on site in Pompeii. Simply because, for any of you who sort of follow art history news, fascinating, a recurring topic is that basically the fact that tourists are destroying Pompeii by going there. And I was very aware of that when going. Did it stop me? Obviously not. I still went, but I will put it out there that it is controversial now, sort of like going to Venice, how the number of people going there are starting to actually ruin the site itself. Obviously, the fact that the site has now been exposed to the elements, obviously it's been dug up, that has also weakened things. But so essentially, I'm not saying don't go, because that would be very hypocritical of me, but that if you do go, just be careful, I guess, and be respectful of your surroundings. Mainly, I'm thinking of there was a teenager. He was sitting on this sort of low wall that had all these beautiful frescoes on it, and he was sort of rubbing his feet up and down on the paintings. And luckily the guide sort of told him off really quickly, but just don't do that. I know that might be self-evident and I might be preaching to the choir here, but just be mindful, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we have an ancient Roman fast food bar. So essentially, these holes here would have been filled with these big amphoras that would have all stayed heated. And so essentially you'd have just a bunch of food, like maybe lentils, maybe like breads and stuff, and you could just sort of spoon it out and serve it fast food style to anyone who was walking down the street. So yeah, fun fact. Here's another little fun fact. There's dicks everywhere in Pompeii. They indicate where brothels would be, we think. We're kind of unsure because there's so many of them.
Even with more people. At least here you will see many of these. We have more people, we have men and men, women and women, because prostitution.
Careful. I'm not putting the entire body on it.
I'm not buying it. I'm not falling for it. No. Look at the tall.
It's a marble basic center. Marble base.
So we're in the house of Menander right now. What I wanted to show you about the frescoes that I was talking about earlier is here you can kind of see, since it's peeled off a bit, how thick it is, all the different layers. And one of the reasons why there are some missing pieces, obviously some of them have been damaged because of the eruption of 79 AD, but a lot of the images were removed when Pompeii was found and put into museums. Like they were carved out of the wall, which as you can see is actually possible because it literally comes off in like chunks.
C'est là à côté.
You can see one of the chiseled out images, so that one is there, and then this guy has been chiseled out. Here's a quick example of the first style of Roman painting. So this is called the structural style. And so as you can see, the actual wall is made of stone, right? That's the base. But then obviously, if you wanted your house to look fancier, it looked better if you had like big old building blocks. And so to sort of give the look of sort of big stones or whatever, they would paint onto the stucco and dig into it. Editing me here, I realized I should probably give a little bit of context for the scenes to come. So now we're basically going to enter the museum, which is on site, which contains a bunch of statues, well, more the objects that were found on site, but also the body casts So I thought I would just give a little heads up. If you're not interested in seeing them, honestly, don't even finish the video. There's nothing much else to see. It's just us going home at the end. But for those of you who are interested, I'll just give a little bit of an explanation as to how we have those casts in the first place. So essentially, after the 79 AD eruption, Pompeii and its sister city Herculaneum were completely lost to history. We didn't really know they were there. And in the 1800s, they were finally found and excavated. And during those excavations in the 1860s, the archaeologists found that here and there were these sort of empty pockets of air within the sort of the dried pyroclastic flow. Basically, within the dried up, or the cooled down lava rock, there were these empty sort of little hollow areas. They decided to pour plaster down into those holes just to see what was in there. And it turned out that those void areas in the rock were the outlines of the bodies of the people who didn't make it out of Pompeii and ended up dying on site. So they aren't just empty molds, they're literally the outline of those people, which is why they're seen literally in their last moments. It was actually quite moving to see. So yeah, I just thought I should put that here, just kind of as a little, not a disclaimer, but more just an explanation.
First of all, they had a baby. He was sitting like, you know, they call it hide up.